Hey everybody, I am Monty.
It's your boy Ronaldus, and I'm back in the building where we seen it.
Episodes 3 and 4. We did see y'all. We're gonna give it to you. Sorry guys, we got a little backed up, but we coming with you with a double episode today. And let me tell you what we're gonna do. I haven't even told Brother Ronaldus, but here's what we're gonna do next week. Next week will be the halfway point. And so we're gonna do 2 shows next week. We're gonna do our recap, and then we're gonna do our favorite characters from the first half of the show. We're gonna give you an extra bonus, all right? Because we know y'all missing last week. But that's what we're gonna give you next week because there's 10 episodes in the season. We'll be at 5. Man, already gonna be at 5. And we got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna just try to quickly sandwich both episodes in really quickly in the recap. Episode 3, of course, the king was on his royal hunt. We sped up a couple more years. He's had a baby now. He's had a son. He's excited. There's a little pressure on his daughter now. They're at a hunt. Now they're trying to talk about get the daughter married off. She doesn't like it. You know, her and her Kingsguard knight, they kind of, she rides off. He rides after her, all like that. The king is still kind of, not happy with everything, the way that things are going. Damon ends up killing the crab beater. Triumphantly, they prevail with his troops. That takes us into episode 4. Damon returns, the conqueror, to the kingdom, and it's a little tense at first, but the king welcomes him back. Rhaenyra basically turns down all the suitors. She comes back. Seems like it's cool for a minute, but if anybody knows the show, of course, it's not going to be. Ray go a little wild. She got a wild night. Some things go down, or did they not go down? We don't know. There's some things with Mr. Kingsguard went a little far, and so then the king has to now deal with that as well with the fallout. And we kind of ended where he is now saying she must be married and things like that. And Damon is once again banished as quickly as I could do it. So, sir, let's just talk about where we are now. Give me your full thoughts on everything that you've seen.
It's going really good. I'm glad that Otto got fired.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
never did like him. We are once again seeing the power of the Corliss. Is it Corliss?
Yep.
Corliss.
Corliss. Yep.
The sea snake.
Yes.
We're starting to see the power that he has. He did not return after the war, and it got the king shook. So the king ultimately, when everything is pushed to the middle of the table, he tells his daughter, "No, you're gonna marry his son," because he kind of got her in a certain pickle where no more am I asking. I'm gonna demand it, and so we may see her actually get married, actually have a suitor. Um, but the fact that he would marry her to his son shows that he is really worried about that dude. Like out of everybody that he could have married her off to, he's like, nah, but we got to make this alliance with her. And it also in this episode, in these last 2 episodes, we start to see that in the Targaryen, Valyrian dynasties is big on incest. We saw it a little bit in Game of Thrones, and we kind of was like, well, them two can't get together, Jon Snow and Daenerys, because we was like, well, that's auntie, but it's actually the way they do things.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because let's recap very quickly. Now we have seen Rhaenyra. Otto Hightower even suggested that she marry her young half brother, who was only 2 years old at the time.
Yep.
Damon would take her hand, who is her uncle, and then of course we've got all these other suitors. They're just trying to like pass her around family to family. It is really crazy. And
remember, at one time they wanted the king to marry his young cousin, which is
the cousin, and it's all the chess match is all trying to further the lineage. And we saw that from the very first scene of this show, is the old king was trying to make sure everything stayed in place. And now we're seeing things are starting to unravel. And yes, that's a key point. I missed that part. Otto Hightower is out. His hand of the king, and we don't know what the fallout is from that. Men like that, the like Lord Varys and Littlefinger back in the old show. I mean, very powerful men behind the scenes. We have not seen the sea snake in the last episode or two, which makes me even more wonder what he's got up his sleeve. Damon is still doing Damon things, of course, and so what I want to talk about though is now Rhaenyra, man. We saw some things with her. Now, of course, there was some racy stuff, but here's what I noticed too. Damon takes her on this wild night, and they watch a play basically depicting what's happening in the kingdom. And at one point, the play was like, well, if Rhaenyra is queen, and people booed, and she got really like bristled by that. And she tried to like, oh, forget them then. If they don't like, they're gonna have to like it. And even Damon was trying to talk her like, that's not how you rule. I kind of picked up on that. Like she got a little, and then when Alicent confronts her about the alleged affair with Damon, she swears on her mother that nothing happened. And I'm like, yo, that's a little. How do we feel about our young? I mean, I want to call it the hero or the heroine, but I don't know. I mean, how do we feel about Rhaenyra right now?
They definitely, if you followed the Game of Thrones through the last 8 seasons of the Game of Thrones and now to the House of Dragon, they will take you on a emotional ride with your character. The villains in some episodes, you'll start to like the villain. You'll be like, wow, they actually is, got some good things going for. The one that you actually like, they'll do some shady stuff too. That you'll be like, I don't know about that character. So we're starting to see that with her. She's trying to navigate this Game of Thrones. And the Game of Thrones is politics. Yes. She's young and she's starting to come up, but she's deep into is the word I want to use, adolescence, but deep into her teenage, starting to feel her hormones. So she's starting to, my dad wants to marry me off, but I want to follow my heart and I want guys to want me and not just want me for my position. So she's kind of in a tug of war of that. And her uncle has always been close. Right. As we, once discussed in one of our previous episodes, they got their own little language, and they, he gave her a gift, and they've always kind of had something outside of her dad. They have a close relationship.
Really, yeah, a little more close it seems. And you make a great point because she's in that rebellious stage, and she tells her father at one point, like, if I was a boy, I could, have children on the side. I could be running the streets. And he's like, right, but you're not. You are not a boy. You're a young girl, so you can't. The rule, and she doesn't like these rules and these confines around her. And you made a good point too, because these shows, like if you remember back to like Jamie Lannister, you hated him, and then you kind of felt bad for him. Then you kind of liked him, and then he helped Brienne, and then they do take you on a gamut of emotions with these characters. And, we've seen a side of Rhaenyra, and it's like, man, this is the show. They're going to do some things, and like people gonna. And so I want to ask you this. Do you think that would Alicent have dimed her out if she would have really told her the truth? I think Rhaenyra lied because she doesn't trust Alicent no more, even though they kind of seem to reconcile. I really feel like the way she was coming at Rhaenyra, it seemed like she was willing to like be like, I don't know, if I can trust her. Yeah. Did you get that vibe too?
Yeah, it was the way she was coming at her. Because earlier in the episode, she was talking about, I still see myself as Alicent Hightower, Lady Alicent, but everybody sees me as queen. I don't know if I got friends anymore. And they kind of embraced, held hands. We're still friends. So then you go to this scene, and she's back in full queen mode, and she's looking like, nah, ain't no way I can tell you what really happened that night. And speaking of that, I saw the director's breakdown of that episode. I watched that, and the actress spoke on the conflicting part of Rhaenyra, how Rhaenyra did not technically lie. This is her words. She said she didn't technically lie.
Right.
She just didn't tell the whole truth. She
Right.
said because they didn't go all the way through
Right.
with
That's
with
right.
it. So no, she didn't sleep with her uncle. But and the thing was, Damon took her there. Damon had intentions, but his thing was he wanted to be in control of the situation, and
Yes.
then he didn't think that she was going to go so easily, and that kind of shocked him. He was like, and
Yeah.
that's
He
when
was a
he
little shook.
froze up, like, oh, and he wanted, he didn't want to do it at that point. But then remember, he still, when the king confronted it on, he was like, let me marry her. So
Yeah. Yep.
evidently there is some feelings there, like, but he
See,
is more political.
I'm about to say, are those true feelings or are those political feelings? Because that's what the king was like. You really just talking about this throne. You ain't even talk about Rhaenyra. But I mean, it's kind of hypocritical of the king because he's doing the same thing to Rhaenyra. It's because she said, you want to just use me to rid your political problems. He's like, well, you are my political problem. So it is.
Yeah.
They're trying to use her as a pawn. She's not with it, and it's a big mess. And let's talk about the king because now between episodes 3 and 4, he's been on that joy juice a little extra, man. And
Mm-hmm.
also,
He's getting worse. He's getting sicker.
and we see his sickness is getting worse,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of giving me some Mad King vibes. Like if this sickness and this drunkenness keeps taking over, his judgment will. Because here's the thing, Otto. For whatever you want to think about Otto, I really feel, when Otto heard the news, they did a quick cut of him kind of looking like, should I really tell him this? And I feel like as the hand of the king, Otto did what he was supposed to do. Like he told him, the king totally just flew off the handle and lost it. And so I'm wondering if, King Viserys is he starting to lose I mean, he was not really the strong king anyway, but do you think he's kind of losing the grip on his whole thing and the pressure's getting to him?
Yeah, it's a lot going on. I think hearing it, he was more brokenhearted about not so much that his brother would do that, because he don't put nothing past his brother, but the
Right.
fact that Rhaenyra, and he said something key in that moment. He told Otto something that Otto would never understand. He said, that's nothing. They're dragons. They're doing what dragons do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
dragons, they're gonna do whatever they want to do, whether it is
Yeah.
and as a Targaryen, incest is not, it's not frowned upon. So the only frowned upon thing was the fact that she is a maiden and a
Right.
lady in waiting, and they can't have her um her reputation out there
Yeah, they
soiled
can't get out.
that
Yeah,
she been with her uncle.
if that gets out, then no the lords of water and all that stuff. So it's that's a good point. I think it's just all becoming a lot. Even Allison, she doesn't seem very happy, even that she's queen. Nobody's really happy right now. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's kind of Damon's back out again. Like we talked about, Sea Snake's mad. I don't know what's going to change, what's going to happen, but again, I don't think Otto is going quietly into the night.
Mm.
Especially with his daughter being married to the queen. He is the father of the queen.
Only thing he got to hold his hat on now, he got to get that grandson on the throne. So that's his
Yeah,
whole mission now.
that's most definitely that is part of his lineage. And so again, we kind of progress through this. Like I said, we're going to come to the halfway point next week, and there's no telling. But we ended this with the king decreeing basically, "You gonna marry old boy." Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you, knowing what we know with Rhaenyra, knowing that she seems to have some kind of fondness for my man in the King's Guard.
Yeah, which
I,
he broke all protocol because that's a
Right.
vial of chastity when you take on
Yes.
to being
And
that.
he told her that. He talked about that, and she knows that. And so what I mean, do you feel like she's gonna go through it? I'm gonna ask you, is Ray Ray gonna get married to is she gonna get hitched to old boy, or she gonna do her own thing?
The greater part of me want to say she not gonna do it.
Right, right.
Something gonna happen, and because she is too, like I said, she a dragon. She gonna do what she want to do, and she do
Right.
not want to marry that cousin. So
He's headstrong, and it's I mean, well, I'll put it like this. Even we go back to the or go through the lineage, as Daenerys was very strong-willed, but she knew for the good of her place, she would do some things. Like she was willing to marry. I remember when she was leaving the one city, she told the guy she was kind of kicking with, "You got to stay because I got to get married to somebody that can't have you." She kind of understood. I don't know if Rhaenyra, maybe she's young still, she doesn't understand that, princess, you just can't have everything you want right now.
mm-hmm.
I don't know, but
She understands some political that is political though, because she did when she had that Trump card. She was like, she knew she was backed up against the wall. Daddy, like, you gonna marry? Okay, if I'm gonna do it, then the hand he shouldn't have did what he did and
right,
spied on me. Now, if I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, then you need to be king and fire
right,
him. So
right,
she's starting to play some political things. So
yeah.
maybe
So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. It's been very interesting so far. And we still got a lot of ways to go. But yeah. Any other final thoughts before we go on this one, Ronaldus? Anything else for these 2 episodes?
um the fact that we seen um episode 3 and then we didn't have a show, then we seen episode 4. We kind of episode 4 kind of overshadows episode 3 so much
It does.
that I did want to give Damon a shout out. Like I said, they'll make you start to like the villain. And he was the man in episode 3.
Oh yes, yeah.
Him on that dragon, he was doing his thing. The way he got down on the beach and act like he was gonna surrender and then ran down through all of them just to pull my man out the cave. So
Were you surprised by that? I was really surprised. We only had
I
2
didn't know he
episodes.
had that in him. I thought he was, weak and stuff, but he was actually.
I mean, and they just killed off. I guess so. I'm like, there must be another villain. I thought the crab feeder was gonna stay for a while, but yeah, Damon. I mean, literally cut him in half, and came out the conqueror with that. But yeah. But you're right though. I mean, episode 3 had some very interesting moments. I found it poignant too. Episode 3, there was the part where they were looking for that white stag, the white, the white deer, and they didn't. They thought they found it, and so the king ends up killing just a regular deer, a big deer, and he doesn't even get it on. It was really kind of a pathetic kind of showing, but Rhaenyra, with the Kingsguard, she sees the white stag. I found that to be kind of an interesting little subplot that maybe after all of this, she is the one. Maybe like favor fortune, favor is on her side. But yeah, episode 4 was just so much in it, but it's hard to kind of just go back. But yeah, I really don't know. I really have no idea what's gonna happen next, and I kind of like that, But I'm looking forward to it because I don't know.
I done seen the trailer for episode 5, so I kind of know some
See,
stuff.
okay, let's finish with this. I've been watching the trailers, and this week I said I'm not gonna watch. But if you watch them, then I guess I'm gonna go back and watch it because I watched them all. It's not they don't give a whole lot away, but I
Don't give
have.
a lot, but
But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna watch. I literally said this week. I was like, I won't watch this week because I didn't know he was watching them. But okay, I'm gonna catch back up and watch that
I
part.
did see something too though. And you know how they try, well, when they have these shows where they have different errors, and
Yeah,
so they try to go back and they say, well, in Game of Thrones they had the Night King. He was the one that was undead. He couldn't die.
yeah.
They're trying to say that that's Damon.
Oh, oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
we have to have that big bad, and that's crazy though. I heard somebody on the podcast kind of talking the fact that, from the start of Game of Thrones, the quote "winter is coming" that kind of loomed over the whole show. No matter what happened, Starks, and Lannisters, winter was coming, and we haven't really truly had that in this. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let's hold on, because toward the end, too, he did show her that dagger that talked about, the Song of Ice and Fire. So that is
yeah.
kind of a.
Yeah.
So I
And
forgot about that.
and what did the Night King do when he got the opportunity? He killed him a dragon and had him the
He got
undead
up.
dragon, and he
That's right.
rode a dragon like that's what I do. He
Yeah,
had the long white hair and everything.
easily. Yeah, that's a good point. You know what I mean? There's he wrote it like nothing, and that was always a thing too. I remember when that happened, people were like, "How can he just ride a dragon? Like, how does he?" And they're like, "Well, maybe just because he put on the spell." But my friends, you might be onto something. So, guys, this is what we're going to do next week. We're going to give you the recap on episode 5, and then we're going to do a special show as well on our top characters for the first half of the season and give you the full breakdowns, who we like, who we don't like, all of that. It'll be the halfway point. We're excited for that. This is what we seen in crew. Of course, on the Mighty Sharp Network. Please subscribe and like. Thank you, Sir Ronaldus, man. We will be back next week, y'all. We got it. All right. Be blessed. Stay sharp.